An asset is something that puts money in your pocket.
Yeah.
A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Ask yourself, if you buy a home, is it putting money in your pocket? I live in my own home. It's not giving me money. I am continuously paying out.
Yeah.
So my home that I live in, that I own, is a liability.
Yeah.
If you decide to run a property portfolio, you're not in the property game.
No.
You're in the people game.
Yeah.
Because you have to manage people.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another video. So today I've got a friend of mine. So this is Deanie. Hi, Deanie.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
So Deanie is my mentor, my coach in the financial planning practice. She's also a friend, and she's someone who has something that I've been wanting to find out more information about, and I know a lot of you also would like to know, which is being a homeowner, a property owner, and also property investment. So I am a renter. I just rent. I don't know anything about property, but the goal is to one day buy a home for my family, and I just want to find out a few things, just me talking to a friend and someone who has been in also the industry of finance for so long, 11 years.
11 years, yeah.
So it's just going to be a moment of you just watching two friends unpack the situation of buying a property. And what does that even look like? It's things that people don't talk about, I guess. So I really want to be prepared for when that time comes.
Perfect.
Yes. Okay, Deanie, gosh.
Ready.
Where will I start? So like I said, I've been a renter. I want to buy a house. I want to buy a property one day. But because of being a budget coach, I've seen a lot of hidden costs and things that people don't really talk about, that I would like to know more about, and just like the truth. It's not like a bad thing to have a property, but also it can feel like a bad thing if you go there unprepared.
100%.
I guess.
Yes.
And then after, you talk about buying a property and what to look into, I guess, with that, I want to talk about how does it feel like being a landlady. And then also as a financial advisor, obviously, for financial advice, just meet up with your financial planner. But we are licensed, so we can talk about these things. We're also going to talk about the estate planning that people don't know about.
Another hidden
thing. Yeah, that you actually cannot afford to die.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with owning. When you want to buy a house, if right now I had to say, Deanie, I'm ready to buy a house, what is something that you would ask me, that you would probably say?
So I think even if I go back, and obviously, like you said, this is a conversation and things that get unpacked just in general conversation. So if you had asked me that question a couple of years ago, still with me in this industry, but a couple of years ago, I'm always going to reference how I'm influenced. And I think that's important to mention, because back then, before I was educated, a lot of us are influenced just on word of mouth. So back then, if you said, okay, Deanie, I want to buy a house, and let's say I was a homeowner back then, it comes across as a form of status.
Yeah.
So now the meaning changes so much. Are you wanting to buy a house for status, or are you wanting to buy a home because you want a home?
That's true.
Fast forward now, you're asking me that question, I've got now so many questions to ask. Why do you want a home?
Yeah.
And I just want people to understand that it's not wrong if you feel different. It's just, I think, because we led so much by word of mouth and trends.
Yeah.
Okay. True. Unfortunately, when you ask people for advice, it really depends where they're getting their education from.
That's true.
And that's going to decipher the answer that you're going to get.
Just like how you said with trends, like right now, everyone has a say.
Yeah.
Everyone, no one is going to verify your information or whatever.
No.
If I just open a video on TikTok and I start talking,
Yeah.
people believe it and they just go with that.
Yes.
So that's why I think for me, it's important to find out from someone who's in the industry, like how you say with education, who's been a homeowner for a while, but who's also like a landlady who understands the investment side that is glamorized as well. Like, is it all of that?
Yeah.
So again, so if I had to come to you and say, I'm ready to buy a home, your first question would be, why? Okay. So why?
Yeah.
So if I had to say, it's because, my family is putting pressure on me that I need to stop owning. I've been renting for so long.
Yeah. So number one, never buy a property because of other pressure. If you buy a property, you do it for you.
Yeah.
You do it because it's what you and your husband have decided to do, or whoever's part of that household. It's not because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Because maybe that pressure's coming from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So also with me giving you obviously my opinion on it, I've also now taken the time to understand what it means to own a property. So like I say, okay, why do you want to own a property? Do you know what a property is?
Yeah. Okay.
So, because there's two elements. Like, people can define a property as that's my home. And then that takes you down questions.
Yeah.
Versus, well, I want to secure a roof over my head.
Yeah.
Versus, it's an asset.
Yeah.
This is, something that's going to give me wealth. And then you would take. So it really
depends.
Yeah. But I mean, we can take that journey and then just know I'm answering it based on questions I had to ask myself.
Yeah.
And reevaluate my own decisions that I had made very uninformed.
Yeah, exactly. So now that I've said to you, it's because my family just says, okay, Noma, it's time for you to buy a home. You've been renting for so long. What costs should I prepare for? Because right now, as a tenant, I just pay for rent.
Yep.
And sometimes some utilities here and there. It's not really like intense, but it's just rent, and then I move on and I pay for Scarlett's activities. And what should I prepare for now that I own this house? I'm no longer renting here.
Okay. So I think people find themselves when a family says you should own this property by now, or they say you've been renting for so long, you're paying off someone else's bond.
Yes, they say that.
You should have your own thing. I think a lot of pressure comes from that narrative.
Yeah.
Number one. And then you purchase.
Yeah.
All right. So there's two elements to purchasing. There's the initial and the ongoing.
Okay.
So on purchasing a property, it's not when you scroll through property 24
and you see the figure.
CEO, this is my budget, 2 million. It's going to cost me 2 million. There's transfer fees. There's attorney fees.
Okay.
There's a lot of fees and there's deposits that need to go down. So in layman terms, you've got to now change title deed. So if you own the home and I'm purchasing the home from you, it's got to change from Noma to Dini.
Yeah.
That's known as a title deed. Got to change the title deed. That's a transfer. That's called your transfer cost.
Okay.
The transfer cost value is established by the value of your home.
Oh, wow.
And you can actually Google it. So if you are researching a property, you can then go on and ask, what will the transfer fees be on this property value? So, I haven't looked at it in a while. No, it's a table. So my first property was about 2 million.
Yeah. And
the transfer fees alone on that property was, I think, I'm going to get it wrong, but it was like 100,000 rand.
No one prepares for that.
So that's, okay, now I'm already bonding in my mind. When I do those calculators, I'm bonding you got to bond 2.1.
2.1, okay.
Okay, then you got to deal with 2 attorneys. You got to deal with the seller and the buyer attorney.
Oh, wow.
So generally I'm going to get it the wrong way around, but there's 2 attorneys you're dealing with. And they're facilitating all the costs. Attorney is going to cost you about 20 to 40 grand.
Yeah.
So add that, then you're now part of a new municipality.
Oh, wow.
So you've got to pay now your water deposit and your electricity deposit. It goes very different. So I purchased in an estate. So now I've got my estate registration. Yeah. So I think the lesson on the initial, it's not the number of the property. that you've got a budget on,
Yeah.
you've literally got to add almost 400 to 500 on top.
So
But
do your
obviously,
homework.
it just depends.
Yeah.
Do your homework.
Do your homework.
Do your
Where you
homework.
want to buy, the cost of that, and
Yeah.
just find out roughly how much. And then now I've bought it. Okay, now I've
Now we
paid
cleared
all of that.
all the surprises. It's like,
Yay.
okay, now I'm a homeowner.
Now I've got that bond that I saw on property, whatever,
Yeah.
of 10,000.
Okay, now
That's my budget.
Okay, yeah. So now we're in it, and all of a sudden, being a homeowner is you are accountable to your municipality, and they charge rates.
Okay.
What are rates? Rates means you've got to pay for all the pipes, all the structure they put underneath your house to get the water to your house, the sewage.
flow.
That costs money. That infrastructure is not free. That's your rates.
Okay.
And then depending on your area, that is a figure.
Okay.
And that is on your rates bill.
Okay.
Okay. It doesn't matter how much water you use. That's an additional cost.
Wow.
So when you get your water bill, it will show you rates and sewage. And that is set. And then that number fluctuates based on how much water you utilize. Because you can imagine, well, I'm a single person in a home. I'm not going to charge, I'm going to keep you at the standard, almost like the benchmark rate, because you're a normal citizen. Versus a household with 10
family.
people, now you're really using my plumbing.
Yeah.
You're really using the infrastructure, and then you go up onto a different level. So you actually don't know that cost.
No.
So you're always budgeting based on benchmark, but just know that can change. Okay, so that's rates.
Okay.
Then you got levies.
Oh my God.
Okay, so if you do belong to an estate, you got to pay for the estate. Sometimes there's areas where they have like this levy concept. Basically, you're paying for your area, the protection of the area.
Yeah.
So in an estate, it's an additional charge.
Yeah.
You can get levies for levies. So just on the estate, because I think a lot of people are going that route.
Okay.
Or even if you think people are buying flats.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's a collective.
Security.
So what happens is you buying in a community, a complex.
Okay.
You would pay the levy for the complex. And then sometimes there's complexes within a complex.
Okay. Yeah.
So here the narrative is, I live in, so for myself, I live in an estate, and for my freestanding home, I'm paying for the estate. But sometimes that freestanding home can be in a cluster. So you almost got a little click within your estate. That's an additional levy.
Oh, wow.
Just for being in that cluster.
Yeah. And that's a monthly payment as well.
Monthly. Have to pay your levies. And then I guess then it's your electricity.
Yeah.
And then once again, you got to pay for that. So your ongoing is actually all those additional. But those are the bills you get.
Yeah.
Then there's the unforeseen costs of being a property owner. Unforeseen cost is your wear and tear on your building. Most property, when you purchase your first property, there's this word called voetstoets. Okay. Which means, okay, Noma, if you're going to buy this home from me, just know a handle might break. Because things are wear and tear items. So you literally sign on a contract, voetstoets, knowing, okay, maybe in a month's time with this new property, the door might come off the hinge. But that's a wear and tear item. I didn't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you take it as is. But some people, because it's such a deal, they take it, and now you're not dealing with one door hanging off, but sometimes people are now buying a fully
broken home.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Like it's too much, and you signed it.
Oh no.
So you can't go back to the owner saying, listen,
So
this
how
is
do you
too
prevent
much.
that? Like by getting a maintenance
You work
man
with the
before?
agency
Okay.
that does a thorough check through the property.
Okay.
When you're viewing property, it's the simple things as take your time to lift the toilet seat.
Yeah.
Flush every toilet in the house.
The mold.
Lift the taps on everything. Open all the taps. Don't just look at the bathroom.
And be like,
Open the taps. Give it a bit of a shake because that's going to eliminate your footsteps. Because that is where you can say, I will take the property on condition of fixing X, Y, Z.
this. Yeah. 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 That's also, you've done your homework.
Yeah. So you cannot go according to photos if you're buying a property.
Yeah.
You cannot. You have to be physically in and check. Check the doors. Slam the doors.
And then there's also property insurance.
Yeah, I guess there's this insurance side to it too. There's the insurance. There's, the wear and tear items of a property, your geyser. All these things. Oh, additional is you've got to get certificates. You've got to get your gas certificate. You've got to get your, it's not your, I want to say your pest control certificate.
Oh, wow.
But your home has to be cleared of any infestation.
Oh, wow.
So that is generally on the seller that needs to do these certificates. But sometimes there's a gap, depending on how you get the sale. And then you will not get approval if you don't have. So your attorney cannot change title deed without your certificates.
Okay.
They will not issue what we call an OC, so occupation certificate. So the municipality holds that certificate. So your attorney liaises with them.
Yeah.
They will not issue the OC, which means you cannot take occupation if you do not have the gas certificate, the pest certificate, this.
Ticking all the boxes, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Additional.
Wow. Again, this is not to discourage you in buying a property. It's just to raise awareness. Yes. Well, what you don't know, you don't know. You can't change what you don't know. But now that you know, you'll make more informed decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, so even if you had to buy the house cash, let's say I've got 2 million sitting in my investments and I buy the house cash, there's still the monthly payments that I need to be aware of.
All you did was eliminate the process with approval bond.
Yeah, but there's still...
all the other costs still
there.
Still are there.
Okay, so that is buying your own home. And then on top of your whole budget, you know me and budgeting, hey? And then after that, if you want to now invest, now I'm buying a home because I want my tenants to pay off my bond. That's
the general.
That's the reason, I guess. Is it like that?
If you run your numbers, now that everyone's aware of those costs, you cannot run your analysis on your bond installment. So if you're buying a property and you've worked out, okay, it's going to cost me 10,000 Rand and I can charge 15, then in your mind, you're like, I'm making 5 grand a month. Run your rates, run your levies, because you're the homeowner. You're in charge of rates and levies.
Yeah.
You're in charge of maintenance.
Yeah.
The only thing your tenant pays is they can pay their water, they can pay their electricity, but rates and levies is on the owner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of a sudden you'll find very quickly you're at break even or more so a loss.
Yeah. And then it's too much.
Yeah. And then you find you're paying in, which is also okay because technically you're still going to own the asset down the line, but it's not something you make a profit over. You're not going to benefit from your profit. You're only going to see a return on your investment once it's yours. So it's actually a 20-25 year investment. So I've got 2 million.
Okay.
I want to buy a property. I've realized I've done the maths wrong. No, you're not going to lose because down the line you've obtained this property and then when they pay their 15 a month, you're taking off all the rates, levies, then you will run a profit. Only in 20-25 years. So if you took the bond for 20 years, only then. Because remember, you've got to recuperate what you put down.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand with business. Is that, yes, you're making that extra 5,000 or 2,000, but you actually haven't made what you've put down.
No.
You haven't made the 2 million back to say, now everything I make is profit. Yeah. Which means it's your children's children who are probably going to feel like,
and knowing you could do a spreadsheet showing if you put 2 million down and you have your running costs, how many installments it would take until you're actually running a profit.
So basically property investments, it's basically for long term.
100%.
And not for you.
Well, I know a lot of people that say, I'm going to live in it one day. So then make sure you're making that investment then for one day. Because then it's a different story.
Okay.
But what I find is most people who said this is my forever home, it's not. I've got a lot of people that go buy, and when I say even clients of my own, they go buy these double-story homes. And they say that's their forever home.
Yeah.
And then you talk about their retirement. It's not a forever home.
It's not what they
A double-story home, if it's your end goal, it does not complement who you would be.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to have to sell and repurchase. Which means when you repurchase, you're transferring again, attorneys again, and. So the calculation's mostly off.
Wow. You know, no one actually tells us about these things.
No.
It's so hectic. And, you know, people come at me, well, not like hard, because I can also push them away. But they come at me like, oh my gosh, you've been renting for so long, and you guys live in Umhlanga or whatever. You can own a home, like in a weird area or whatever, because you can afford this rent. Like, first of all, that's not what I want.
It's the uninformed, I think, that will have the biggest say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I know, so, and I'll quote him with Robert Kiyosaki. He has that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Anyone wanting to go into property, that would be an educational book to read.
Okay.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Because he talks about what is an asset and what is a liability.
Yeah.
And he puts it in very layman terms. And it's so easy. It's something I've never forgotten. In fact, I regretted buying my home when I read this. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket.
Yeah.
A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket.
So ask yourself.
Ask yourself, if you buy a home, is it putting money in your pocket? I live in my own home. It's not giving me money. I am continuously paying out.
Yeah.
So my home that I live in, that I own, is a liability.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you really spend the time to understand budgeting and real wealth, planning, net wealth, then you realize, what did I do?
Yeah. And financial
it's a
planning.
Concept. You can't argue with the concept.
If you took your bond and invested it for like 10 years at least, you know, after I got exposed to this industry, it changed my whole perspective of, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to do when I'm ready to buy. I'm going to start by investing this long and then have that amount of money. And then, you know, just like how you said, to avoid those other costings.
There is no shame in renting.
No.
It's changed, Noma, because I got brought up, you go to school.
Yep.
Then you get a qualification.
Yes.
And you get a 9-to-5 job. You buy your first house. You buy your car.
Get married, have kids.
Yes. You know.
The book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Nowadays, it's changed. Now, you travel, you rent, you allow yourself flexibility to change and adjust. Yeah. That is financial freedom.
Yeah. And there's so much education online.
The narrative is always buy your house early, so by the time you retire, it's not a debt anymore. So now there's a whole freak out that people haven't bought their properties yet, and you worry that installments running into retirement.
Yeah.
But people that are retiring are renting.
Yeah.
They're not homeowners.
Yeah.
In fact, they're selling homes once they're empty nesters to have the freedom to just go wherever they want to go. Because why tie yourself down?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly the same thing when someone says, Noma, why are you not buying? I was like, I'm not sure if I want to stay here.
Because it is for this long. It's a 20-year commitment.
Yeah.
20-25.
Yeah.
Young people get up to 30 if they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you've paid it off, like how you said, now to sell again, it's a whole transfer. It's a lot.
Yeah, and it's admin every month.
Yeah.
So now take your 25 years, add admin, and your time is money.
Yeah.
Yes, we all talk about currencies, but our biggest currency is our time.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Okay, now let's talk about how you do it though. So Dini's got how many properties?
No, it's not.
You and your husband, of course.
So we can talk about the investment side to property, which I think needs to be understood, that there is that opportunity. So, and and I'm going to use a very simple example because we understand all the fees now. If you go buy a property for a family in an estate and you think that that's going to be an investment, like we've established, it's not. Because you're only going to see your money when that thing's paid off.
Yeah.
Okay. An investment must give you money now. You want your return now.
Yeah.
Because you want to use the return to upgrade your life.
Yeah. To build wealth.
Okay. You don't want to wait 20, otherwise they're better off putting their money in an investment and then getting the return straight away.
As well, yeah.
Okay. So your return's quicker in an investment as a property for that one. Okay. But if you understand your costs of where you're purchasing, then now you can use it to your favor. So for where I am, so I've got a property company with my husband, and we run low-cost housing. So you can either chase the quality game, a beautiful home in an estate with all those fees that come with it, and then you realize,
oh gosh,
well, for me even to see a return, I'm going to have to charge this tenant and then that's not even a real rental. Long? I'm not going to get a tenant, and then you got issues with tenants, and then that rabbit hole starts. Okay, so it's not a guarantee on your return versus quantity. So in our property, yes, we have not homes, not houses, but I've got 22 units. So if you consider low-cost housing, what is low-cost housing? I've got units that a tenant can rent. I'm not too good with square meterage, but it's a room with a side bedroom, so a main living area with a kitchen inside, with a room and a bathroom. Okay. Very neat.
Yeah, it's perfect for a single person.
Yes. Okay, that is low-cost housing. And the rental there is obviously very low. So when you're doing a quantity game, the numbers make sense.
They do.
And when it comes to any investment, the numbers must just make sense.
Yeah.
So it works for us because we got quantity.
Yeah.
But if I was running one little unit, no, it's not worth my time.
No. And if you have 22 of those massive ones?
No, because remember, like even if you had one, the bond, all those costs versus what your rent needs to be.
Yeah.
Because remember, it's not about how much you're clearing. It's a percentage of what you're putting down. So if this property is costing me 20 grand and I'm only making 5, what is your profitability there?
Like 0.1.
You with me? Versus now, okay, well, maybe I'm getting low rental, but it's not costing me anything. It's the costs are now divided 22 times.
Yeah.
It's not a one tenant.
Yeah.
So my risk drops because I can afford to have one unit open for a month. Because I take one rate divided by 2. One levy divided by 22. 22. So now all of a sudden I'm not reliant on one tenant.
Yeah.
I've got numbers.
It makes sense.
So that's why it's an investment. Because once again, like I said, it's putting money in my pocket.
But how is it though being a landlord and a landlady to 22 tenants? Is it not like, oh my gosh, training?
So
you get those hectic tenants.
I do.
That's the ugly side of, I guess, every business.
Side. But, and it's something you and I always say in our industry, we're actually not in the insurance business, we're in the people business.
Yeah.
If you decide to run a property portfolio, you're not in the property game. No. You're in the people game.
Yeah.
Because you have to manage people.
Yeah.
So for me, yes, it's admin, and I've got 22 leaking toilets and taps and
22 geezers.
And yes, sometimes I'm like, this is not worth it. But that is why I always say, if you're going to take any opportunity, understand why you're taking it.
Yeah, your why.
Your why, your
Which
purpose.
is what we talk about a lot.
Okay, so for me, it's not because I want status of being a landlord. So my story is that I have allowed my tenants to not have to go through credit check.
Okay.
The biggest reason where people cannot put a roof over their head is they need financials. They need to put a deposit down and. I don't do that. I don't ask for a deposit. I know every single one of my tenants' names. In fact, most of my tenants are foreigners. For me, a big part of what I want to do is just look after people. Yeah. And for me, owning this property puts a roof over 22 families.
Yeah. And it's built a relationship as well with you. That, like how with Dini as my mentor, as my coach, there's so much that I also do that I don't want to disappoint you because of our relationship. You know what I mean? Yeah. As much as, yes, it's for me, like how you said with your tenants, they've got a roof under my my head. On top of my head, sorry, but I actually wouldn't want to skip a rental because I wouldn't want to have a bad blood with Dini.
Yeah, I've got tenants who apologize before saying it's going to be a bit late.
That relationship is very important.
And I mean, at the end of the day, It is a business. Look,
Yeah.
it's hard, but when it does get to that point where I want to pull my hair out because I'm done with painting it again and again, and then their kids go break all my windows, yes, I get frustrated. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
But it always comes down to now, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think when you think of a business, why you go into business, you've also got to think about the succession of it.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, it is teaching me a lot of life lessons right now. It fits, it aligns with, my morals and what I want to achieve in life with the time I have. So it ticks all those boxes personally, but yes, financially as well.
Yes.
Because down the line, I would like to hand that over to my kids.
Okay. Yeah.
So my upbringing, we always reference a ladder in our household, okay? And when we have children, some parents say, no, I don't want to enrich my kids with money in any way. They must start where I started. And it can come across very bitter.
In our culture.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Why must I ask my kids to start at the bottom of the ladder when I can take 5 steps up and they can take over from me?
Yes.
Why go down?
No.
So a big thing that we've got going with my family is, let me, every time I can grow this investment, this property portfolio, I'm going up the ladder to then just say, instead of you starting at the bottom, I can pick you up and I can put you where I left off.
But that's
so now my kids have something extra, which I didn't have.
Yes. And you know how it felt like.
Yeah. No, it's hard starting from the bottom.
From scratch. All these bonds, all these car installments. Like,
But it's not going to be in a spoiled way. I started managing this property in 2016.
Oh my God,
with
10 years now.
Yeah, so we took it over actually from my husband's dad.
Okay.
So we bought it from him, and yes, it was a learning curve. It was proper marriage counseling 101. And down the line we've still got it. So I envision this investment being a really good first job for my kids. Because every weekend I had to go check the toilets, check the geysers, collect rent, check everything's running. And that was a sacrifice. So I would want my kids to manage the property first.
Yeah.
And then it would be yours. If you manage this well.
Yeah.
It is intended for you.
100%.
That's my hope.
And you know what? Like with business, we run literally our own practices, and you've got your own property business with your husband and stuff. It's literally a personal development journey.
Always. And everyone thinks, you own property, you must be loaded, and no. But the person I've become.
The person you become.
I didn't know that part.
It literally molds you to this whole, and it's literally all in the Bible.
Yeah. And I mean, I've said this quite a few times this year, which has kind of become my thing, is there's no such thing as mistakes, just experiences.
Yeah.
So if you do find you've made a decision on an investment, on a property, and from all these things you've realized, oh, shucks, I jumped in too soon, it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
You can always get out.
Yeah, exactly.
You can always change. You can always make a plan. But don't repeat mistakes.
Yeah. A plan is important.
Yeah.
Once you know, okay, this is where I messed up, have a plan on getting out, like how you said, or fixing it.
Yeah.
Through meeting experts, financial planners, listening to podcasts, I don't know, reading books.
Educate yourself.
Educate yourself.
Don't be rash.
Exactly.
Educate yourself.
Okay, so what is this? 30 minutes. One more question. Now, estate planning. Now, actually, like, what happens if a homeowner with 3 kids or 1 kid or whatever and a husband passes away? And they have a will or don't have a will? I don't know. Like, what is the whole holistic understanding of what happens with the title deed, with the whole process, SARS, I don't know.
There's a lot. So I'm going to try to keep it very simple. I think we've really unpacked what it takes to purchase a property.
Yes. Done.
The same process happens when someone dies. To give you that. So a lot of families are under the impression that if we do a joint home, So if we married, let's put it in both our names. So if one of us died, at least it's still in your name. So
Yeah.
life should continue. Remember that title deed we spoke about,
Yeah.
that transfer cost. Even though we're both on the title deed, if one of us dies, the title deed needs to change. So it will trigger transfer costs again, even though I'm not moving out. So if you imagine you got your whole family and the intention is to keep a roof over their head.
Yeah.
You have to run that calculation. And that's obviously where a financial advisor can run that estate plan calculation, because in that estate plan, you're going to calculate the value of your estate, the value of your home, and they will run those fees. So the additional fees, so like we spoke about, when you purchase a new property, you got the rates, the levies, the attorneys, transfer. On death, you got transfer, but now conveyances. What is a conveyance's job? Okay, the so-and-so's passed. We need to move the title deed from spouse to spouse. What is the value of the home to establish that? We need a conveyancer, someone who's going to revaluate the home. Because I bought it for 2, but maybe it's worth 2.5. The reason for that is SARS wants their chunk of real value, not what you purchased it for. Okay. I think in terms of estate, you would need a whole nother podcast for that. Okay. But terminology that they could research so long. There's capital gains tax on a property.
Oh, wow.
Now, when it's your primary residence, there's you're tax free up to 2 million, but thereafter you pay capital gains tax. So if you do have investments, you have to pay capital gains from the start. So if you are buying property that's dilapidated and you're doing a flip home, I think that's a trendy thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're buying a home for $500,000, you're putting all your renos in and now you're flipping it for 1.5, you're going to pay tax on R1 million. Because that's the increase in value.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of a sudden you got your tax on your primary, and if you are creating an investment out of it, you got capital gains tax on those investments.
So if you bought a house for R1 million and you sell it for 1.5,
it means your gain has been $500,000. There's a formula which everyone has access to on SARS on what your capital gains would be on that.
Wow.
There's just an exemption if it's your own home.
Okay, so primary is 2 million.
Yes, and then anything above. Most homes are going
for above.
At that rate,
100%.
So it's the tax on, call it your investment, you're upgrading your investment. Then there's the just estate taxes alone, your executive fees, as well as estate duty. So they can research the impact, what is the impact of these fees on a property on death.
Yeah.
They'll be able to break that. Well, they could start their research like that.
So if both joint couple passes away and the kids are left, what happens there?
So it depends what's said in the will. And if the intention was the kids, minors can't stay in this home. So they would need to sell it. They would go to guardians. They would need to sell it. It would trigger all those things. No one is invincible from SARS.
No.
Not even your minors.
That is hectic.
Yeah. So it's part of your research.
Yeah.
You need to do it.
You need to know.
It's great. We want property investment. We want all these things. Understand the ripple effect of your decisions.
Yeah.
What is the death ripple effect? What is the return effect?
Yeah.
Run those exercises.
Yeah. Oh,
but like you said, it's not that we're against property.
No, it's just
know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then there's always solutions to it.
Yes, and then actually you have that peace of mind that I already knew about this. Yeah, no, that's true.
Like you said, putting a plan to your opportunity, you'll be fine.
And I think that's what I love the most about what we do.
Yes.
We give you that plan. Like when I meet with my clients, and some of them like you already have your retirement annuities somewhere else, whatever, and then I'll ask the questions about retiring. What age do you want to retire? How much do you want to earn? Where do you want to live? What kind of lifestyle is that? They're like, oh my gosh, actually don't know. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, then why you are paying that much and it's projecting this much and is that going to be
Yeah.
enough? And they're like, because they don't know. But I think
No.
once you unpack everything and then you make a plan according to the vision that
Yeah.
a clear vision that you have, clarity,
Yeah.
it just changes everything and you have
Yeah.
that peace of mind.
I think people got to, instead of worrying about reading documents, rather ask the questions.
Yeah. The right questions.
Yeah.
Or speak to the right people who will ask you the right questions.
Exactly. Get that plan
Yeah.
put together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think that is it. Wow. Oh my
It
word.
seems more like we're against property, but
No,
I'm not.
it's just
I'm
the
not.
truth.
But it's info.
Yeah, it's the truth. And every time, like, the truth is spoken, it sounds like it's against something.
Probably.
Because it
Yes,
comes
because
across
we
as
didn't
like...
know all that. Yeah.
But now that you know, you just have to sit down, ask yourself
Yeah.
the right questions, and then see what you need to
Yeah.
do. Like how you said, the solutions that you need to do if you do have kids, if you don't have a will, or
Yeah.
all of that. But I'm available if you want to ask me any questions. Book a one-on-one. And if I don't know the answer, as you can see, my mentor is very much well informed, so I will be able to find out the answers for you and assist you. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you so much, Dee.
Thank you.
Bye.